All right, what's up, everybody? I'm back. Happy Monday again. Happy Memorial Day. Shout out to everyone who is a vet or has a vet to celebrate. There's a few in my family, not any that are, well, I know one that is alive, but we are not, or I should say, I am not presently in communication with that individual, but thank you for your service, anyways. You know how families go. I mean, it's not a personal thing with me and them, it's just things going on with the family overall, and they kind of distanced themselves and faded into the background a little bit. But, anyways, so it goes. I had a few things on my mind. I hope that I can get at least 50% of those things out, because sometimes I start, think of something else. That's why I do miss my structured lives a little bit, where I would write things out, which I might start doing again. Because I like coming onto a live and knowing what I'm talking about. It's just that I don't have the same group that I did when I first started, who really liked those lives that I would take the time and turn things into PowerPoints and, you know, make them informative, like what I would do in one of my groups that I run. But yeah, anyways, that's neither here nor there. When I first got into a corporate work culture, Ichericity, believe it or not, they teach you so many things: English, social studies, and music, arts. They teach you. You get gym class, you get wood shop class. You know, there's many different things that you learn in school. Hi, MD. But they don't teach you what it's like in the general work environment, particularly in an office specifically. Because I feel like an office is its own ecosystem, and one that most people have navigated or will navigate at some point in their lifetime. So if I had known then what I know now, the number one thing that I always have in my head before I enter into any work environment is that the number one goal of everybody within that environment is to make money. And you might tell me, no, Mark, some people are driven by purpose, okay? But they're not doing volunteer work, they're doing paid work. So, yes, in a work environment, there's some people that are more driven by purpose, and there's some people that are more driven by money. But overall, I mean, everybody had to sign a contract, and everybody, for the most part, is getting a check, a direct deposit, a pay card at the end of their 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever it happens to be for that organization, that says you've earned this much for doing this much work. And that sounds like a simple, obvious thing, right? But here's the thing with where it gets complicated for some. Some people walk into those environments and listen to everything they say at the beginning about, we're not just an organization, we're a family. And I'm sure there's maybe some small mom and pops organizations like that that, you know, really operates and behaves like a family. But most organizations as a whole do not operate like a family. But they can fool and convince you into thinking that they do. So what I mean by that is, you come in, everybody is nice to you, they welcome you with open arms, they start talking to you, they ask you questions about your personal life, you share, they share, you start hanging out. Maybe you start hanging out outside of work. Maybe you go to the concert together, you hang out at the bar, whatever it is that you do after work. And you can lose your sense of the fact that this is not actually your family. These are people who come together same as you, and they're like, okay, I need to earn a paycheck, so I'm going to do that by any means necessary. Am I still on? Because last time I went from 5 or 6 or whatever to 0, nobody was on, so I'm just checking before I continue. Is anybody out there? Okay, I'm seeing the 2 again. Okay, so, because I wasn't going to talk to myself for 20 minutes like I did yesterday. So you get this false sense of, this is actually my family. And then you find yourself in spaces at work, thanks Tricity, where you're saying to yourself, I thought that me and such were cool. And then all of a sudden they threw me under the bus. Now I'll give you an example. I had a supervisor at a job 8 years ago. And me and the supervisor, as far as I knew, were very cool. Not cool to the extent of we hang out outside of work or even speak outside of work. I didn't have her phone number or anything. Like, everything was between those lines, we would speak in the building. But when we spoke in the building, we would speak very honestly and candidly about things going on at work in our supervisor meetings. So we had this program director that was like a menace to society. And me and her used to always laugh about her, because she would give me the requirements that the program director told us that we had to do. Because she was always coming in and stomping around, tell them to do this and tell them to do that. And she would always be like, well, such and such told me that I had to tell you guys this. You know how she is. She's the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm just making that up. That's not actually what she said, but we would joke about her. So I guess this one day, maybe the boss came down on her about something that I wasn't doing, but it was not something that I was told to do when I wasn't doing. It was just something that I was never told. So that morning, she said to me, hey, Mark, can I have a meeting with you? I said, sure. So we had the meeting. She was just like, hey, I just want to let you know that the boss gave this and this requirement, and, that's something that you have to start doing. You know how she is. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I didn't know that, but now that you told me, I don't really want her to be on your behind either, so I'm going to start doing that. Not a problem. I go back to my desk. My office was right across from her office. So I go back to my desk, and then all of a sudden I hear Outlook, the ding on Outlook. Hi, Ed. And then I'm looking at this message. The message has the chief clinical director that we were talking about, the CEO, like a bunch of higher ups on the email, sorry. And she sent it, and it was like Mark's requirement to do this and this. So I'm reading the email. I'm like, first of all, why would she just see me 2 seconds ago, have a conversation with me 2 seconds ago, and say none of the stuff that is in this email, and then walk right across, because our offices were literally right across from each other. She says, "Have a good day," and then goes into her office and types out that email. The email said, such and such was supposed to have been done, and she informed me that day for the second time, and that I was insubordinate. So I was like, insubordinate? Where is this coming from? And I was like, I was thinking, is she trying to get me fired? Now, in my 8 years of extra wisdom since then, I realized that she was under fire. She didn't do something that she was supposed to do, so she was thinking of a way out of the trouble that she was supposed to be in for it. And the easy way was to talk to me that day about that requirement, and then write that follow-up email to our meeting, and verbally put it and write in there in writing that this is the second time that she told me to do that particular thing, and that I wasn't listening to her request. So I was very upset. And I remember showing the email to my 2 coworkers, because we shared an office. 3 of us were in one office. And they were just like, "Oh, just leave it alone, Mark. It's not a big deal." But for me, it was a big deal, because at that point in time, I was big on this, I'm the same everywhere. Hate me, like me, or love me, I'm the same everywhere. So I just couldn't process people who were like one way in front of me, one way when I'm not there. Like, that just didn't register for me. Like, it still doesn't register, really. It doesn't register in my heart, but I have a good understanding now that that's just the way that it is in a work environment. Even with people you like, you get along with them well, like, it doesn't matter. They're in where they're in to earn a paycheck, to support their family, feed their family, whatever the case is, feed themselves, support themselves. Trying to get in my 10K today. Yes, I think yesterday I got to like, 1 second. Yeah, yesterday I got to about 9,000, close to 9,000. But today I want my 10K, because I'm off work, so I have the time, opportunity. All right. Yeah, so at that point in time, I still thought that everyone in those environments was just as real as me, because I was just like, I'm not going to change myself. I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to act like I like people I don't like, and I'm not going to exchange pleasantries with people that I'm not really feeling, etc., etc. And I just didn't, I guess I didn't understand office politics, or I just didn't want to understand office politics. I get what you mean, though, because no matter how close you are with your work fam, that's what I'm exactly. And sometimes the people could even be cool with you, genuinely. Like, I like this person, and in a not we could really, really be friends, where we're not in competition for anything, right? So it's Survivor. It's like the reality show. It's why when people are like, I can't believe this person did this, and I can't believe this one stabbed their friend in the back, and I can't believe this one betrayed their showmance. I'm like, when they got on the show and they signed up and took that flight over to California or wherever, Fiji, wherever it is that they're filming whatever show, they were a standalone person, and the goal was to win $1 million. So the person that they met and spent 2 weeks with and said, man, I'm falling for you, and I can see myself being with you outside of the house. Now, does that mean they have an obligation that if an alliance forms or something, you have to tell that person? Or does that mean that if they're up for elimination or they're up on the block or something, you tell the house, put me on the block instead of them? No, that wouldn't be me. I'm sorry, I would come on that show just for, in that environment, I know my goal would just be like, get the money. But I do know that I would have to navigate relationships like a Sari did, for an example. That would probably be my type of character to an extent. I refuse to let you end this live without me saying, alright, I would have said something. I'm gonna go ask my dad to help with these tax forms. Not where they lie on you, that's not okay. I didn't expect it. It was unexpected, so I wasn't prepared. I wasn't thinking that I would need to record the conversation. Now, that conversation made me recognize why people say when you have a conversation, a verbal conversation with your boss or something, follow up that conversation with a written summary of what was discussed in said conversation. Or even if they send a summary, their word is law if you don't respond to it. Or if you just say okay, if they're like, I met with Mark and I told him to do this thing and then he said F you, and then I don't say anything, the only thing on paper is what they said. So therefore, like, if I didn't dispute that, then it's the law. So even then you gotta follow up and say, thank you for this email. I don't really remember it like that. You said this, I said this, and that's how it went. And then, if it's still going from there, then it could get to a point where some mediation is involved. But you have to respond, or you have to document your own records. Raph. There are a few people that just don't look out. No, it's not everybody. I'm not, what I'm saying is not like 100% of a work environment, because there are people who, I don't throw people under the bus, but what I do happen to do now is that when I get into any work environment, I get to know as many people as I can. One could call it strategy, but I kind of call it knowing the people that I'm working with. So I remember when, funny enough, I always connect these reality TV competition shows to my work environments. I remember when I was having my interview with Chaz and Sam, both said something similar, but I remember Chaz saying it first from The Circle season 5. And I said to Chaz, either me or Danny J said to Chaz, one of us said it to him. The question was like, when you had that conversation where you connected with Sam and y'all talked about Dallas BBQs, and you were saying like, I'm from Jersey, and she's like, I'm from New York. How did you know you guys felt so strongly about each other in that one typed out conversation? And we asked him, like, how did you feel so sure that this person is real when you never met her? This is kind of your first real one-on-one discussion. This could have been anybody. And the answer that Chaz gave was that he pretty much was like, okay, I feel like this person is real, but let me see how they interact with the rest of the house. Let's see if the way that I'm seeing them lines up. Let's see how they talk to me in front of the other people, and let's see how they interact with the other people. So I kind of do that in any of my environments in any of my work environments, because outside I don't deal with things that I don't have to when I'm not in those work environments. One moment, please. Sorry. Okay, and so now I know that's a spam number because it's been calling me for the last however long. But anyways, yeah, I get into those environments and I get to know people through conversations, and then I see them in meetings, and then I have like work. Sometimes we have projects that we have to complete together. And so I'm like, okay, is the person this person says they are to me the person that they are in the group, and the person that they are with certain people around? Like, is this all lining up? And even then, I'm still gonna have suspicion of most people, and rightfully so. So I go into those environments knowing that even the people that I gravitate towards, even the people that seem the realest and the most genuine, there's always going to be at least 1% of me that is like, protect myself. Now, I don't throw people under the bus for no reason, but I also make sure that I'm covered for myself for the event that I need to be, because I have been caught off guard more than a few times. So the way that it has impacted me is that I don't walk in there seeking friendships. I just don't. Has it happened on occasion? Yeah, but I was the person in the early days of my work environments that everybody was my friend. In my head, I come in, everybody is joking with me, laughing with me, smiling with me. We exchange numbers, we hang out, we're all friends, until I discovered that things that I've said to them in like friend mode got used against me in the work environment, or opportunities that I had, or ideas that I gave somebody thinking that we're friends here. They snatched the idea and like represented as theirs. I learned most convos need to be recorded. My doctors are really hating it. Different people get to see. Yeah. I take a long time nowadays before somebody gets to really see me, but it depends on, most people won't even notice that they're getting a 30-40% version of me, because at my baseline, unless I have a specific reason not to like you, I'm going to be kind to everybody. I'm going to be respectful of everybody. If I feel comfortable enough, I'm going to be open to some small degree. If I'm forced to be around somebody for large amounts of times, like you are in an office, I get to know people to a degree, so they might feel like they're my friends, but very, very few people who I actually let pass that layer in those environments. I don't find any benefit in doing so. Don't get me wrong, I have had some very good friends that I have met, but they're rare ones that were kind of exceptional and showed how true they were over very long periods of time. Marshall, what's up, Marshall? No one knows what exactly, because you're new to them, so they don't know you. They don't know you that much. So whatever you give them feels like a full version of you. Not to everyone though, because I'm a person who can tell when I'm not getting a 100% version of someone else. Not that I need it, but I'm saying I can just tell, like, I'm getting a subdued version or a lesser version of this person, or like a reserved version, or this person doesn't trust me. I can tell those things because I just feel energies like that. But some people would just never know. And that's how a lot of people are with me. Something happened in my work environment recently, and I don't know. I can't talk about it here. Am I your friend? Welcome back, Ma. You're my favorite trans streamer. I was about to swing in and accidentally joining new lives. So I go in there, like, just having that understanding that anyone can do anything in that environment, and probably somebody will. Because when you're emotionally invested, in a sense of, you start to develop a rapport with someone to where you would now feel a personal way if they did something to boost themselves or to climb the ladder at your expense or something like that. If you're in there thinking, this is my bestie, like, this is my friend, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt more. Versus, imagine if you went into an environment where you're friendly, but you're also disconnected. You're friendly with the person, but you're also disconnected from them on a personal level. So if you do it, it's gonna bother you, and it could make you bothered, upset, angry, all of that. But it's not like from a place of personal hurt where you're like, I never would have expected a person to do that. So that's the way that I would say the corporate environment has changed me. It hasn't changed me in a sense of, I'm still not that person who's like super fake and I don't like this guy, but I'm gonna act like this guy is my best friend, or that kind of a way. But it just changed me in a sense of, I know that there's an artificial level to any interactions that I have. With the people that I interact with in that environment. So just knowing that keeps that layer of guard up. And then also, like I said, I guess strategically get to know people as much as I can, because I just want to know what's happening around me. I just want to know, generally like what people are capable of, who I can say a little bit more and who I can say a little bit less, and who I should just stay away from, you know? So I hate to be like that, but because of that, I haven't really had too many incidents that were so questionable to me, like how did this happen type of thing. Because I assess the risk of everything. Someone can still slip through the cracks, don't get me wrong. You can't foresee every scenario, but I'll say 80 to 85%. I already think of them before they happen. Whereas before, I just went in there, let me just be myself and keep it real. And that's always going to get me where I need to go. No, it does not. That does not always get you places. And in fact, it can hinder you. It can be a hindrance to you. If they do an office for $30 an hour, hell yeah. I say the opposite thing. When people are like, oh my God, I can't believe this person stabbed this one in the back for $750K or for $1 million, depending on what game it is. And I'm like, there's a person right now in an office that you work at who stabbed their friend at work in the back for an extra $5,000 a year. So what do you think people are gonna do? You take like a selection of 20 random people in your own work environment and dangle some huge amount of money at the end. They're gonna do the same or worse than the people on those shows. I guarantee you that. There's only gonna be a few of them that are like, ooh, I play with my heart. Only a few of them. The rest of them are going to be like the almighty dollar is everything. I don't let it. And are we back? It turned off on me. I need a new phone, but well, damn. I was about to say my 2 years must be up, but it might not be. I have like 5 friends in real life. Yeah, I could probably count all my like real friends on one hand. Yeah, like friends that I know that if I was in a real predicament, I could be like, hey, I have probably a handful. Now there's more than a handful that I care about, obviously, but core friends, very, very little. Trying to arrange a play date with them though. Yeah, I have some friends that I see once a year, once every couple of years. Some that I've gone 3, 4, 5 years without seeing. It's just like that. They would do it for minimum wage, dog. I get that. You always have to be careful who gets to see Ma. I always say people know charity, but not everybody knows charity. Everybody feels like they know me. That's the funny thing with me. Everybody, except for the people that I just seriously don't like and don't get anything from me. Anyone who gets 15% or more of me feels like they know me based off of that. So everything I do is a surprise to them. But then to the ones that are really close to me, nothing is a surprise. nothing at all. Very little that I could do would ever surprise them, because they just know the most authentic version of me. How many people know Trisha Little, fake sweetheart who never wow, that's what they know outside of here. Oh man, what caused her name to be Charissy? Anyways, you missed the whole explanation that she gave like 5 times. My friend, when I was 18, started calling me that. All right. Are we on? Yes, no. Throw me a yes or no. Let me know if I'm on, because I refreshed. People think they know me, and the more they found out. And the funny thing is, there's people who, like, when somebody comes to me with a whole bunch of questions up front. I want to know this. Tell me about this. I want to know what you think about this. I'm like, okay, this particular person is not really trying to get to know me. They're trying to get to know about me. So instantly, I'm like, I don't really trust this person and their motives. Now, the ones that know me have gotten to know me a layer at a time, and not really through a specific line of questioning. It's just, now I feel more comfortable to share this in this moment. Or now we have this thing that happened that, let's say an emergency happened and I had to resolve it, or they saw how I handle conflict in a moment. Not them asking me how I handle conflict. Like, a conflict is actively happening, and they see how I handled it. So it's like, oh, okay, I learned this about him. I think that's what makes the best friends, is a combination of time spent and just building trust and getting to know people over periods of time. I used to be super private. I am not private, but the layers that I'm referring to, I'm not super private, but the layers that I'm referring to are really more personality traits and, things like that. Because I'm literally a peer counselor for a living, even though that is not actively my title, my current title. I mean, I'm a peer counselor for a living. So every day that I go into work, I'm sharing that piece of myself with anyone who needs it, which is just telling them about my anxiety disorders, some about my family background, my upbringing. Like, those layers are not even up for most people anymore because of my chosen career. But that's not knowing me. Again, that's like, if I write an autobiography, you would find those things in the autobiography. That wouldn't give you a insight to who I am as a person, really. It's just sharing a collection of stories of things that have happened in my past and my present. All right. Interesting. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've had. Actually, it's just been a long time since I've been close to anyone in those environments. I don't know if that will ever happen again. At least not to the degree that it has happened before. I think I would have to be in the company for a very long time, as would they. And like, this person is really trustworthy, that I can share myself with them. It's okay. I almost got hit with a soccer ball. Yeah, so I mean, it didn't really change me, because I know that when I go into the environment, I'm just prepared for the fact that, oh, this pickleball here. I'm just prepared for the fact that I have to be somewhat of a different person for the amount of the duration of time that I'm in that office. But yeah. Then when I get out, my life is my life. I only took one lap around, so I tend to feel like I'm way under 10,000 steps, because I know that one lap around this park is a mile and a half. But I don't feel like taking a second lap around here. Just because everyone is off, so there's more people here than usual. I like walking through this park when it's quiet, especially when I'm doing a live. But I might take a little bit. I might walk a little bit down the street, because I'm really trying to lock this 10,000 steps in. My strength is going up because I was in the gym earlier, and I've been able to push a lot more weight, but my weight is not going down, and that is because I have not been steady with the cardio. The nutrition I'm getting better with, but the cardio, not really. What is it, Monday today? So tomorrow is supposed to be my run day. So, I gotta get up in the morning and make sure that I run. How do you feel you need to be different? Well, the way that I'm different is that I do not look for a friend, right? Because I'm somebody who is, I don't know, like, I'm very personable, and it's easy for people to talk to me, and it's pretty easy for me to just naturally want to just, oh wow, I meet someone and I'm like, they might say something in conversation that resonates with me, and then all of a sudden I just open up the book. Oh yeah, this person is my long lost twin, or we're kindred spirits type of thing. I could have the tendency to do that or be like that, and I have in the past. Now I come in there and I'm like, I'm gonna give you as much as I need to give you I'm gonna give you what's required of me to give you in a work environment. And when I say required, nothing is truly required except for me doing my job. But if you come in there and you're just the quiet one who doesn't talk to anybody, you're also not gonna move up, because they have to feel like they know you to some degree before you have opportunities for advancement. Because funny enough, as I'm talking about how most office relationships are fake, you still need them. So I've had to learn how to toe that line of balance, to where I'm like, I do give enough of myself for people to have a good impression of me, but I don't give too much of myself to where personals and business are now mixing in together. That's a huge difference. Another difference is, like I said, I come in with the assumption that everybody would stab me in the back in order to gain $1. That's my assumption when I come in. It's kind of like what Ed or Milfman, when he used to be on here, always says about like Big Brother or whatever reality TV games. Like, my assumption is like everybody's lying to me. Everybody is capable of lying to me. People will swear on their mother, their father, their son, daughter, dog, cat, you know, in order to get ahead. So I take things that I hear sometimes with a grain of salt, and I fact check. Somebody says to me, "You gotta look out for Jessica," because this has already started to happen to me here. You gotta look out for Jessica because Jessica has a big mouth. Because you see, this scenario happened a few years ago before you got here, where I told Jessica this, and then Jessica went to this person, and that person went to HR, blah, blah, blah. Could the story be true? Yes. Could elements of it be true and some not? Yes. Could it be most of it is not and a little bit of it is, but that particular person doesn't like Jessica? Yes. So I'll hear it, you know, I'll take it into consideration, and it's quite possible that this same story will surface again with someone else, and I'll act like I'm hearing it for the first time. Like, you can tell me that same story, and I'm like, interesting. And then if it sounds way different than the first person's story, this will probably come up again with somebody else. And then I'll kind of weigh all these different sources privately to myself and say, this sounds like the closest thing to what actually happened. Now, I know that Bill, Jane, and Sarah are liars. Don't trust any story they ever tell me again. So we're talking about holding. We're talking about because of how much. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm more saying maybe it is, but it's not like a thing where I go into the environment and I'm like, I want to say more, but I'm not going to say more. It's something where I've had so much practice of shutting that off that it's not even something I have to think about anymore. Like in my work environment, that's the natural me. If you see me in a tell for me that I like somebody in the work environment beyond just, oh, this is my work friend, is if you see me having any kind of discussion with them where I'm not guarded. I guess it's probably a subtle thing because you wouldn't be able to tell that much unless you know me, but if I don't feel like I have to be guarded, then I'm like, okay, this particular person or people, I can share a little bit more with them. But yeah, that's not really my natural tendency anymore. But I guess what I'm saying is I never really viewed work and life as two different things, and now I do. Like, my workplace is just the place that I go in for X amount of hours per day, and my end goal is to make money. you know? Even if there's purpose within those lines, the end goal is still, I'm making money to pay my bills and to do whatever else I'm going to do with it. But there's no mistake in my head that that's the primary goal. And secondly, I don't prioritize like relationships over like work things, if that makes any sense. You know, I wouldn't prioritize a relationship with somebody at work over my ability to move into a higher spot or something like that. No, I wouldn't be the person who's snaky and like gathering information just to use against somebody. But at the same time, if something opened up for me, I'm keeping that to myself. I'm not talking to anyone else about it, and I'm just working that angle by myself. I don't owe it to anybody. I guess not a want. Let me reread that. Talking about holding yourself back because of how much you would want. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess that would be accurate. Is that my natural self when I go into new environments is to, you know, go talk to people, and if I feel like I'm forming some kind of connection, it doesn't have to be a deep connection, just based on face value in this first conversation that we had, this seems like somebody that I would genuinely like to just get to know, and we might exchange information and, you know, have more conversations, whatever the case may be. But in that work environment, in that same scenario, I talk to them, I might say to myself, yeah, this is a person that's cool. I kind of like the vibe that they give off. But I'm not thinking all of that. I'm like, you have to do a lot to prove to me that it is even worth me investing that time. That's where I'm at right now. Like, if we have a great conversation on my first day and we never speak again, that's okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is there a Chinese restaurant over there around?
There used to be one right there. Is it not open?
How far?
No, right here, like right here on this strip here.
I don't know. Okay, right on.
You haven't seen it?
No, I didn't go that way.
Yeah, there's one. It's called King Buffet or something like that.
Oh.
I don't know if it closed, but
Okay.
I don't think so. Let's see. It could have. You never know.
Therefore, you know, I didn't go for a long time.
Yeah.
But none is not that way.
No, I don't know any. I think there's some that are. Yeah, it's right here. Buffet King. You just ended up here randomly?
No, I work in around there.
Oh, okay.
This is a Chinese food.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's open.
So yeah, they have one. So I said, okay, let me check that.
It was probably this one that they're talking about. That's new.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye. See what I'm trying to say?
I don't ever seek out these conversations with people. They just think I'm approachable and that I'm going to help them or talk to them, and I usually do. Now, I'm not even gonna lie. The same scenario happened with work. I'd probably do the same thing. That part of me I cannot turn off. It's just the emotional component of it. I turn that off and then when people were taking advantage of it, it was hurting me in ways that was bleeding over into my personal life. So I'm like, I can't be impacted like this because it's too stressful for me. It causes me so much anxiety to open myself up to expose myself to be in scenarios where people can really hurt me with real stuff. Because if somebody says, I don't like Mark because this or this or this in the work environment, I don't care about that. You don't have to like me at work. That makes no difference to me. But then when you mix in other things with that, then I have to walk into my work environment and feel uncomfortable. Strangers always tell me that my story. I wish I could get rid of that sign on my forehead that says, "I care about all your problems. I want to know everything from A to Z." I tell this story all the time of this one day that I had that was a really terrible day. Like, my day was so terrible. And I stopped at the grocery store after work. Something I wanted to just grab in the grocery store. And I had like 1% on my social battery because I just wanted to grab and go. So I grabbed my items. Normally, if I, at least in these small places when I can, I'll go to the cashier over going to the self-checkout. I wasn't even trying to go to the self-checkout. I mean, I wasn't even trying to go to the regular counter. I was straight for the self-checkout. And then I saw the person who stands by the self-checkout and helps you. And she was like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Mark, this is a trap. Just answer, I'm doing okay, and scan your items and run." And I'm looking at her, I'm like, she looks so down right now. So I just said, "I'm fine, and yourself?" She says, "I'm hanging by a thread." I was like, why did she have to say that? Why did I have to ask her? Why did I have to follow up her question with the same question in the first place? And why did she have to answer like that? So then I'm like, okay, she's hanging by a thread. So, you know how they have that multiple choice meme where it's like A, B, C, D? A for me was like, "Sorry to hear that. Have a good night." Like, that was really what I wanted to say to her. But especially a combination of my personality, but also the fact that it goes against my grain, my nature, because 12 years in the mental health field will do that to you. I'm hanging by a thread. If a client said that to me, if a friend or a family member said that to me, that would lead me down a rabbit hole of a lot of questions. So I didn't give her all the questions that I would give a client or a friend or a family member, but I did speak to her for like 5 minutes, which was like 4 minutes and 59 seconds longer than I had to give. Then I gave her like, a couple of resources and like a word of encouragement. And that was me setting as much of a boundary as I could possibly set from that point, because I was like, I can't be this person's counselor nor their lifeline. But at least the fact that I gave her those particular things that I did, I can sleep at night knowing that no matter what happens, I didn't just walk away. Somebody told me they were hanging by a thread. I'm cursed like that too. Randos asking me sheets. People do that to my mom. I try not to make eye contact. Now, this is a totally off topic, but a homeless guy got me for 50 cents. Or $1 actually. I gave him $1 on Friday. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but I honestly do. I rarely, you might catch me giving 3 or 4 homeless people money per year. And it's not because I wouldn't give somebody something who is in need, but it's like living in New York has desensitized me to that, because we have some homeless hustlers over here that will stand in strategically in certain places, and you know, they'll be begging every day. So normally, and even not even just the homeless people, the Girl Scout cookies, like all that stuff, I don't let them rope me in, because the 4 or 5 people that get me per year are the ones that roped me in to speaking to them for more than 5 seconds, because my answer is usually sorry before they even get to the question. Once we were at the bank and this older dude started ranting to her about God. Nah, that kind of thing is a no for me. I'll just keep walking. Matter of fact, if I wasn't on this live, I would have my headphones on. Yeah, I would have my headphones on and I would just be pretending like I don't know, and I'd have the headphones on my ears, but I would have the volume low or even off sometimes. But if I didn't want to hear it, I would act like I didn't hear it. Let's see, I think I'm probably close to 10,000 steps now. So what time do we got? 4:26. Ooh, I did good, because I'm still gonna have, you know, for like 5-6 hours to chill. Then I have a lot going on this week. Wednesday afternoon, well, Tuesday is just going to be a regular work day. Wednesday, I'm going to the capital. Going to, well, not the capital, as in Washington, D.C., but Albany. Going to Albany for a conference that is, you know, something that is going to further my cause for upward movement that I'm working towards. Then Thursday we have another conference, not in Albany, one that's nearby here, but yeah, it's like a cool peer empowerment conference. And then Friday, change that around. We leave for Wednesday, the conference is Thursday, and then Friday is nothing, and then Saturday and Sunday there's a fitness thing that I usually participate in, but this time I'm going to be a volunteer, because the tickets sell out so fast. But being a volunteer, I think, gets you a bunch of perks, and possibly even gets you a ticket or a discount to a future event. All right. That was really kind of you. Oh boy, But yeah, I mean, it's kind of me, but my moral compass is so strong. So sometimes when people tell me, "Oh, this is so nice of you to do," like, trust me, if I had not done it, yeah, for a few seconds, I would be like, "Oh yeah, oh, I got out of talking to this person." But then I would get in my car and I would be like, what if this conversation could have saved that person's life? Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. My apologies for that. Okay, where are we? Yeah, my conscience would have not let me sleep at night because I would be like, what if this 5 minutes that I didn't want to spend talking to this person, which, as much as I'm saying my social battery was run down, 5 minutes, that 5 minutes was not gonna kill me. You know, I would still go to sleep at night and wake up the next morning, probably feel mostly better. But that 5 minutes that I didn't spend talking to them, who knows? Like, I don't know. Maybe it didn't make a difference, maybe it did. But like I said, I could sleep at night because I'm like, I did what I could. And especially whenever I think about my drive, I think about my uncle who overdosed in 2015, I believe. And I never got a chance to talk to him because he never really, I don't know, I didn't really know all of what he was going through. I started finding out afterwards, and I was like, I would give anything to have had the opportunity to speak to him and perhaps make an impact on his life. There's a homeless guy who asked this dude in line for a concert for a couple dollars, and he gave him more than that. But you know what? So there was this guy that used to have this flea market nearby my house, and in order to sell at the flea market, you need like a flea market permit, and you need a van because they would all put their stuff. Well, you don't need a van, but he had a van, right? So my mom said, "Can you go over to the flea market and purchase me a bathroom rug and some soap and some other stuff that she told me to get for her?" So I went over to the flea market and I found a guy that was selling all that stuff. So I must have bought maybe $20, $30 at least worth of things from him. The next day, I drove into the mall, and as I was in the traffic coming into the mall, I see this guy standing outside, and he was wearing this patched up clothes and this dirty tank top, and the sign said, "Need money for food" or something like that. And I was looking at him, and I looked at him real close, and I'm like, this guy looks familiar. Then when I got closer to him, I rolled my window down, and I was like, bro, you're the guy who I just bought all those bathroom supplies from yesterday at the flea market. He just starts laughing. I was like, that's not funny. Some freaking homeless scammers out there. I had my therapist, I saw right when I got my spinal cord injury. Then COVID hit. He went crazy and started talking to me about, oh wow, that is quite a hard scenario. I've been through a lot of different things, That's one thing I could not imagine, because you're a person of stability and trust now all of a sudden has like a mental break of their own and brings that into your sessions. Like, that is rough. I mean, you're more likely to get $5 from 4 people than $20 from one. That's a fact. And yeah, my mom just stands there, has an interested expression, but says nothing. She said people are crazy, so she doesn't shake them off, doesn't engage too much either. I handle crazy people well. I guess we probably have that in common. Because I deal with them every day. I actually feel a little bit weird having not been around people for like 4 days, when normally I'm putting out fires. My dad had a brain tumor. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess to an extent that was like when my dad had his dementia that also turned into Alzheimer's. And I remember this one time he was talking to me about the squirrels or something. He was in the hospital, and he was like, did they get the cat out of the room? And I was like, the cat? There was a cat in your hospital room? Yeah. He was like, yeah. I was like, man. But the hard part with the Alzheimer's is it's not like that was him all the time. When it started, it would be like 75% of the time what he was saying would make perfect sense. Then it was, and then 25% of the time he would say weird, outlandish things. Then it was like 50% of the time. One day he wakes up, I have my dad who is perfectly competent and coherent. Then the next day, it's like everything he's saying is off the chain. That was a hard adjustment, man. Because I would feel so good on those days when I could talk to him and he could tell me, give me advice, and talk to me about things that happened in his past and his history, his upbringing. Then the next day when he's just saying a whole bunch of nothing and I don't understand a word that he's saying. My dad locked himself to the bathroom one night. It's quite the feat getting him out. And after he was like, Charity's hard. It's hard being the president. Yeah. I actually get that from my dad, except the difference between me and my dad, he loved people. Social battery, like the way how I say my social battery is low, it starts on like 50% and goes down from there. His would start at 50% and would charge up the more people that were around. He would love to have that conversation with that person in the grocery store. And not just that he would have the conversation, he would invite them to church for like Bible studies. He would walk into any room and he would leave the room with like 30 new numbers, pass around his business cards, call and follow up with each and every one of those people that he met in the room. Didn't need a rhyme or reason to it. He just loved people. He always wanted to be around people. He always wanted to learn different things, different cultures, and the exact opposite of me. I have the characteristic that I draw people to me. But it's not like I enjoy that characteristic. Like at times, yes I do, at times when somebody says I feel safe speaking with you, you know. But that's like 5% of the time that I feel that way. The rest of the time I'm like, I really want to tell you to just leave me alone. But it's funny that YouTube has provided me the perfect platform, because I get to pick and choose when I get on here. I get to pick and choose when I get off. If I don't feel well for a week, or if I don't feel like being on here for a week, I can just not get on here for a week. If I get on a live and I'm just not feeling it, I can jump off the live. I can choose who's in my space and my environment. Like if somebody jumps on here and is like, hey, what are you babbling about? I can just block them. I could just block them and not feel a way about it, because y'all know that that's not the way that I operate in my day-to-day. I'm actually tired because I walked for a good 40 minutes. People never talk to me. And then everybody is just like, Mark, how can I be so calm like you? And I'm like, you don't even recognize that I am not calm most of the time. I am an anxious wreck. I'm an anxious wreck. But the tools that I had to learn in therapy taught me how to have a baseline of calm. And I don't think that's an easy thing for anyone to understand, but maybe somebody will understand it. I was like, sit down, Mr. President. I remember I was taking care of one of my friends' 95-year-old mother, and she was convinced that she was pregnant. She knew that her husband had passed some time ago, but she was convinced that she would tell me that his semen rose from the grave, and God impregnated her with it. And she would be like, my baby is coming and I'm 95 years old and I'm pregnant. It's a miracle. And I have to take care of my baby. And, you know, I would just go with it. Unless it's to compliment my clothes or something. I told him not to lock that door when he went in. That's a superpower. You're lucky, Cass. When people talk to me, they talk to me like I'm younger than 28. Yeah, it's like people talk to me for no reason. In my opinion, I see people who are like warm and inviting. Here, come talk to me. I'm here for you. Like, I'm not that type of person. I don't say anything like that. I don't look at the person struggling generally and say, hey, you know, let's talk this out. But it's like what Charicity said. It's like they have some kind of sense. People had told me that before, because one time I was complaining and I was like, how come one person could walk up to two different people? The other person, they asked both of us, or both of us say, hey, how are you doing? And the answer they give the one person is, oh, I'm doing well.
And then the answer they give me is like, oh, my life is just going to shambles, and you know, like, all this tough things are happening and I don't know what to do, and I'm having these family issues and having these personal issues, and I'm like, did we both not ask the same question? So why am I getting this version and the other person got the 1 word or 2 word answer? And yeah, so but then a few people have told me, they're like, you can sense when you talk to somebody and they ask you how you're doing as a formality versus somebody who appears that they would actually care about the answer that you give. So I can't help that. I guess I got to take that as a compliment, whether I like it or not. You lucky. Exactly. Why didn't you say that to them? Yeah. I'm like, why am I the sounding board? Why am I the sounding board that you have to feel comfortable just telling me everything? And, oh man, life is so hard for me, this and that and the other. And then the other person just gets the 2 words. Life is not fair in that way. I consider life not fair because of that. And then sometimes someone will walk up to me just based on, we make eye contact, and then they just walk up to me to speak. And I'm like, I was not inviting you to come speak to me. I just looked in your direction. Go back over there. But I never say these things out loud. The closest you'll find me to that is like the headphones being on, and I just walk away real quick. Because if we start the conversation, you're at least going to get a few words out. My way is like, they say, there's a saying that's like, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. How that applies here is like, an ounce of avoidance is worth a pound of conversation. So it's like, if I can avoid starting the conversation, then I don't have to get trapped in it. Because sometimes I feel sick when I get engaged in a long conversation that I never wanted to be in to start with. It happened to me the other day. Like, I think I made some kind of joke or something, said something, and me and the other person were laughing, and then next thing you know, the laugh suddenly, like, the joke suddenly expanded into a conversation, and I'm like, oh, shoot, how did this happen? Like, I just wanted to, I don't even think that I was trying to have a conversation. It was just, they made some kind of joke to me, and I responded in a funny way. And then they're like, oh, we're friends now. Thank you for the likes, by the way. Thank you for the likes. Appreciate that. Hello, Verinder. Thanks for the like. I don't know why I feel so tired. It's not good. It's not a good feeling. That's why I try not to make eye contact. Charicity is one of those kindred spirits that I'm talking about. Because I can relate to so much of that stuff that you say. People take it as an invitation. I know. And I'm like, I think about myself and how I would never go to a stranger, even on my worst day. Even on the worst day of my life. Like, if I was talking to a stranger, I've called, I called what we call a warm line, which is like if you're not in a crisis that puts your life in danger, but you're having some kind of medium level mental health crisis, you can call and you can speak to 988 or like different numbers like that, local ones. I have called one of those lines to speak to a stranger, but if I'm walking on the street and I'm having a terrible day, oh man, I don't want to talk to the person on the street that I see, no matter how nice or friendly and open they look or whatever. Gosh, man. Excuse me. I would rather try to call a close friend. I'd rather try to call my grandma. I'd rather try to call somebody in my immediate family, you know. Somebody I already know and trust would always be my preference to a stranger who looks like a good person to talk to. Because I would have anxiety just surrounding that. Like, I don't know this person. I don't trust them. But there's people out there who's just like, I've just been waiting to talk to you my whole life. And I'm like, you are the exact type of person that I don't need around me. Please. Because it's such an unfair imbalance for someone to come to you with a problem, and then you talk to them, you listen to them, whatever it is, even if you didn't say much. Maybe they just needed a sounding board. And then they get out of the conversation and they're like, you know what? I feel so great. Because before I was feeling hopeless and I was feeling helpless and whatever. Then you came along and now I feel so much relief. Meanwhile, people don't realize that those burdens that they drop on you, now they sit with you. So it boosted them up, but it brought you down. That's the truth of the matter. That's why boundaries are so serious to me. And even on here, it might seem like, why do you have such a quick trigger? Because to be someone who works in the field that I work in, even with setting boundaries, you know that people are going to break them every day when you go into work. Even the same people who are in the same program. You give them the boundaries, you're stern about it. They're like, okay, I understand, I'm sorry. You could walk in tomorrow. They break the same boundaries and you just have to keep dealing with it. So like once I get into environments that are more in my control, like this one, I'm like zero tolerance policy. Because I don't have to have anyone here. My caseload is not decided by me at work. So if I think someone's like disrespectful or whatever, and I talk to my boss about it, they then will examine the situation. And honestly, they're more prone to problem solve versus taking them away. Because they're always just like, let's see if we can resolve the problem. So it's not my choice to get rid of them. But in outside environments, it is my choice. And I take that choice seriously. She's looking at me, it's my time. I don't even want to get, oh shoot. I don't even want to talk to someone I trust. Does the give and get have to be equal? You know what? You can't consider equal a mathematical equation, right? And my best analogy for that is when I see things pop up online where people talk about relationships and say, oh, this guy is not a man if he makes you pay for any of the bills or whatever, right? The man is not supposed to let the woman pay for any of the bills, because if they're paying for the bills, if the woman is paying bills, then what does she need him for, right? So I grew up in a house with two working parents who had two solid careers. My dad was an accountant, and my mom, in her working days, was a nurse. But throughout the years, they traveled, moved different places, and there were times when my mom was out of a job, and there was times when my dad was out of a job, and their split of money was not like he pays everything, she pays everything, 50-50. It was like the times that my dad did not work and my mom was working, she covered more. And the times that my dad, and vice versa, when he was working, she was not working, like they just did whatever they had to do based on what resources was available, need, sometimes just agreement. I'm going to cover this, you cover that, you don't have to worry about that. So when it comes to like reciprocation to me in friendships, it doesn't have to be like 50% equal, 50% I help you, 50% you help me, 50% I listen to you, 50% you listen to me. I'll give you an example. I've had moderate level issues happen to me where there's something that happened in my life that stressed me out. Like I had a bad day. And then I have somebody call me, a friend. I've had a friend call me, right? And I might have even called them to vent about what happened in my day. So then I'm like, I start off like, hey, how's it going? And then when they start talking to me, I'm listening to what they're saying. And sometimes they might be like, oh, let's say somebody stole $5,000 out of my bank account, and now I'm having to go through this whole fraud process. I needed that money to pay the mortgage, whatever, right? And I'm listening to that, and I'm like, well, my issue was that somebody cut me off in traffic, and then my gas ran out in the car, and then I got to work late because I had to wait for somebody to bring me a gas can and put the gas in the car. Like, it's like, basically, I assessed the situation in real time and said, that issue that this person is having is actually a bigger one and of more importance than the one that I have right now. So I'm going to push my issue to the side for a minute and just help them get through the thing that they're going through, right? And it's not like a reciprocation in terms of a number, like you do this much and I do this much, but it's a reciprocation of, I know that if I have a major need and I reach out to this person, they would do the same for me. That is just a feel thing for me. This person would do the same for me in this scenario. That's what it is for me. That's my view on it. I don't get rants or anything from strangers. With family is another story. My family, I guess I'm just not terribly connected to my family right now. So I'm not in those environments. When I get in those environments, they for sure rant to me, but I don't often find myself in those environments with family anymore. My opinion is that relationships in general aren't about record keeping. People have different things going on in life. It's about being there. You know what? That was a 1, 2. That was like a 3-sentence version of my 5-minute answer. I give long-winded answers. But my whole entire thing that I gave with the examples of my parents and all that stuff meant the exact same thing that Churicity just said. Yeah, that's the same thing. Sometimes my dad wasn't working.
Sometimes my mom wasn't working. Like, they split it however they split it, and it wasn't it wasn't like a thing to keep track like that. Uh, yes. Anytime somebody asks me a question, I have the unfortunate thing of going around the world to get to my answer. That's just me. I wish I could change that. I go around the world, around and around the world. I don't know how to just give someone a... And sometimes people love it, and sometimes people hate it. Sometimes people are like, I love your analogies. You know, you break things down in ways that is so relatable and makes me understand it like as if I was getting an education level from a teacher or something. And other people are like, get to the point, man. But I guess it's like everything is not for everyone. That's another thing. Everyone is not for everyone. One person will love you for the same thing someone else will hate you for. Hi.
You can come over.
Sure. All right. I love details, so don't change it. Yeah, I guess we need both types of people in the world. We need the people who give the long stories, and we need the people who can summarize a 10-minute story into 2 sentences. But the funny thing is, when somebody gives me a very long story, like for instance, somebody at work on Thursday, was giving me like a really long story when they were trying to explain a viewpoint to me. So they spent all this time explaining, and I just sat there listening. This must have gone on for 20 minutes, and 20 minutes is a long time for me to sit and listen to somebody, especially at work. And then when they were done, I said, okay, so the key points that I got from that are A, B, and C. Is that right? And they started laughing. And I was like, no, I was listening. Trust me, I listened to everything. I even gave them back their whole story with all their examples and everything. I'm like, I heard everything. Trust me. It's just that I heard certain key points, and then everything else was just stories to explain those key points. And the reason why I was able to do that is because I'm like that. So I know that I will explain something, and then if somebody asks me a follow-up question which showed that maybe the way that I said it wasn't clear enough, I'll go the extra mile to make them understand what I'm saying. One of the most frustrating things, I don't care when people disagree with me. People can disagree. But one of the most frustrating things is when they don't understand what I'm saying.
Like if they're like, I don't agree with that, and I'm like, okay, what don't you agree with? And then what they said is not the point that I was trying to make. That's the most frustrating thing. But if they get it, and it's just like, you think this way and I think that way, that's cool. You know, that's life. People are always gonna have different opinions about different things. This is the longest I've been on here for a while, by the way. Thanks for that, because I only stay on here basically based upon how the conversation is going for the most part. If nobody's here, then the shorter the live is gonna be. Not everyone makes the best analogies. That is a fact. Some analogies are just like out of left field. Like, they don't even relate to what the person is trying to get across. What is that? Neurolinguistic programming is interesting. Visual auditory. Hold on, is interesting. Visual auditory and kinesthetic learners like to get into different ways. So I guess that would be me. Or which one would I be? I know someone who makes the worst analogies, but try to make it their thing. I'm the analogy person. I don't know about the analogy specific thing, but the detail versus not a lot of. Yeah, a visual communicator. I guess I'm a visual communicator. Yeah, I guess so. I'm a visual communicator. It's weird though, because on paper, like if I'm doing an email or something, I probably under communicate. But if I'm speaking to somebody, I can't give them my point without feeling like I've painted the whole picture to get to my point. I have to. I would like to not do that. When I was coming up with the speech that I was going to make for my dad's funeral, I couldn't bring myself to write it up until the morning of. I woke up like 4 o'clock in the morning to write this speech. And if you saw what I had on the paper, I had like a half a page of bullet point notes. And then I got up there and I spoke for 13 minutes. And the 13-minute speech that I had was longer than the combined speech times of my mom and my sister, who wrote out actual like written speeches that they read. And the one that I came up with mostly off the top of my head was like 13 minutes. And I didn't even realize how long it was until I went back and watched the video, because people were telling me like, that was a really good speech, you know. You're like a really good speech writer. I'm not a good speech writer. Because I could write an entire speech on paper and then get up to tell the speech and tell a totally different speech. That's just how I am. I mean, that's a gift in and of itself, because not everyone can do that. But yeah. Auditory is known for details, but I have to watch your eyes to know for sure. I over-explain too. Yeah, I know, Ed. I know you do. And then the thing is, you're like me in a sense of, if you're over-explaining and you're not getting feedback, you're going to just continue going. Because you're looking at, you're like, oh, shoot, this person is not getting what I'm saying. Let me try another one. Let me try another angle. Like, I require feedback. Give me feedback so I can stop and feel comfortable and know that you get what I'm talking about. By the way, the hair is growing back. I mean, it's still thinning a little bit in the front, but At one point, it just like this whole patch in the middle was like not growing. We have all three, but we have a primary. But you're born and die with it, and your eyes tell it. Oh, my eyes definitely tell if I'm telling the truth or a lie. But I don't really lie to people. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I never lie, but I tell the truth more often than I lie, because in a lot of scenarios, I'm like, it's not necessary for me to lie here. Like, I always think, if I'm going to lie about something, what am I going to gain from that? You know, like, for an example, my coworkers will literally say, I'm sick today, on a day that they plan to be out, to take a sick day. And they might even say, I have an emergency, my mom is in the hospital, I got in an accident. Like, they'll still actually give a specific that's not true. And I'm like, I earn sick time, so I don't have to give you an explanation using my sick time. Oh, but there's a presentation, and or you were supposed to meet with this person or do this. So what? That's why there's sick time. I'm not gonna like adjust my sick time as a convenience to you. You agree, Ed? Yeah. That's one thing, is like, the people on my channel that have been here for a year, a couple of years, and we talk on Discord and stuff, I know them more than, you know, the average people who follow my channel. Because we have crises in the Discord, we have voice conversations, and we've played different games together, we've talked about different personal things, so I have like a general inclining. I know that the internet is not everything, like you can't get to know everything about somebody via the internet, but you get to know them. It's almost somewhat like a work environment in a sense, because you're around, we speak all day, we chat and we do different things. So over time, even if somebody is lying, you will get to know that, because now they've developed this baseline of who they are. And even if somebody wants to project themselves as somebody totally different on the internet, if you're around them long enough and they speak consistently enough, you get to a point where you can see through it. One group of people who walk up to me all the time is children. Children are funny, man. I like how children are just unfiltered. I miss those days. I be laughing when they be telling me things. They don't care. If there's one person who's gonna test your like sensitivity levels, your emotional boundaries, it's going to be some child. It's going to be some child telling you something reckless. Alright, I'm probably going to be on here for another 5 minutes or so, and then we are headed out. Any final comments? My final comment is just that thanks for the conversation. I used to be on here for, you know, hours a day. That has not been the case. I'm on here like once every 2-3 days, sometimes 4 days. But when the conversation is good, I like to stay. And it was a rare time that I haven't been at work for 4 days, so I'm actually pretty relaxed. It's bothering me on this camera that these glasses are not symmetrical. And the problem with these cheap glasses is when you try to straighten them out, you risk just snapping the middle. I think I got it. I'm very visual, so I had to like train myself not to really look at myself in the camera when I'm doing lives, because that was one of my biggest reasons why I didn't like doing lives, seeing myself on camera. They'll be like, "Daddy, what is that big dot on that lady's face?" And then they'll get one of those elbows, or if it's a mom, they'll get the little pinch, like, but it's true. Like, you told me to tell the truth. What can you say? Well, I did tell you to tell the truth, so if somebody hasn't liked, I want to get this like up to 10. We're at 9 right now. So if anyone wants to give me a like in the 11th hour, I'll take the like. I'm going to be on here for another 2 minutes. Then I'm going to go on about my day. I have things that I'm going to do. And I'm going to watch your eyes and I'll tell you what you are. I have things that I'm going to do, and honestly, some of them, I might watch some TV. I know there's basketball on later today. I really want to start doing a countdown to Big Brother. You know what I might start doing? I might start the countdown on June 10th, because that'll be, 1 month before the season starts. And then NLP. What is NLP? I think I know what that is, but let me know. Let me know what NLP is. I guess that's the people who can observe body language and stuff. Previously on Big Brother. It's just hard because I don't know what to do for a countdown. Like, I was thinking of recapping seasons, but then when I did the recap of the cookout season, it took so long for me to put the material together, and only so few people participated in it. So I'm like, the costs outweighed the benefits, because to sit down for like 3 to 4 hours putting together the material for the live, and then to do like a 2-hour live, so we're talking 6 hours out of my day, and 4 people come on there, then I'm like, what am I doing here? So maybe for the countdown, I could make neuro-linguistic programming. I could make short videos that are like 5 minutes long, or less. They could even be like 3 minutes long, just with little recaps of things that have happened over the years. Yeah, we have 26 seasons. So I know one of my all-time favorite moments. I don't even know if I can post it, but that moment between Rachel Rachel and that guy, I don't know his name, but he owned her. That's one season I actually want to go back and watch, to tell you the truth. Like, I've seen so many clips of that season, but I have never actually watched the season in its entirety, and I want to watch that season so bad. I really want to see that season. Reagan, yes. What do you call her? Like a little witch or something. When he finally snapped and lost it, I'm like, yes, the drama. Like that kind of thing could never have happened in this day and age, because the things she was saying to him would not be allowed, and probably the things that he said as a response would not be allowed either. So unfortunately, that's one of those things. It's like the CT era of the challenge, the original CT era, and it's like you'll never see that replicated because it will never be allowed. Keisha's birthday, I didn't see that one. I love the moment when Caleb the cowboy was working with Cody and Derek and agreed to throw that challenge, and Frankie won it by himself. Yeah, there's several different ones. Taylor's final speech. That was a cool one in recent memory. Xavier when he got out Kyland, I loved that. And I loved when he got out Tiffany via Kyland. Yeah, CT would be in jail for sure. I'll think of something. But I'm excited for when Big Brother starts again. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, we only got a month and some change left. June 1st, I think, is next week. Okay, we're the 26th right now. There's 31 days in May. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so I think June 1st is Sunday. This coming Sunday. That's what's up. Crazy Eyes, I gotta admit, that Crazy Eyes thing. I don't like Angela, but that Crazy Eyes thing was pretty funny. Pretty funny. Alright, everybody. Thanks again. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Work tomorrow. Woo!